Hey, welcome back everybody. It's been a while, I've been busy. Finally got a few hours to myself today. So I'm going to give you a quick update. Still winter out, as you can see. Snow and stuff on the ground. Snow's flying. So today's project that I'm catching up on is an automatic generator. Automatic switchover. You know what I mean. Because we had some power outages recently, and with the heated water lines and the water heaters for the chicken coops and everything, you don't exactly want the power to go out. So luckily, there were a few that were brief, and then there was one that was kind of I wouldn't say it was a duration, but it was long enough to be annoying. And luckily, I was on location for that, so I just switched over to diesel and threw this big old transfer switch. But kind of show you what I got going on here. So on Facebook Marketplace, I picked up a automatic standby generator that's propane. It's a 10K, and it's like a Briggs and Stratton or something or other. It was an outdoor unit. The generator was. In fact, the enclosure for that generator is right here. So took that apart and got the guts out of it. Took the engine, the alternator, all that stuff out, because it's not going to go outside. It's going to go in the generator shed / machine shed, or whatever we're calling it these days. It's going to go in there behind me. So I got this transfer switch here, and this is a 100 amp rated switch. It's a ASCA, I believe, or ASCO, I don't know, whatever. 100 amps. So, it's switches between the two sources. It's automatic, but as you can see, this enclosure that it's in is not an outdoor rated enclosure. This is an indoor enclosure. So there's no rubber gaskets, there's no nothing to keep rain or snow or anything out of it. So what we ended up doing, let me see if I can zoom out here a little bit. We ended up getting when I say we, I mean I. We ended up getting a big old enclosure. That's a Weaver. Does it have the name on it? No, but trust me, that's a Weaver NEMA 3R rated enclosure. So as you can see, it's got the rubber gasket. Everything's watertight on it. This cable right here is actually going up to the chicken coop. I'll explain that in a little bit. This conduit here comes over from the barn. It's one of those 4 there next to the electric meter. Or no, it's not. It actually goes up under the wall. Never mind. Those 4 actually go down toward the road. And actually the one way at the end there to the left is going to the chicken coop. That's actually the feed for the chicken coop. That one all the way to the left there. That's a 60 amp service. Same kind of cable. This is, I think, 6 gauge aluminum, so that's good for the 60 amps that we're setting it. 4 conductor, because it's going up to a sub panel in the chicken coop. And the coop main power feed comes out of the barn there. On the other side of the wall is the 200 amp main panel, and that goes up and around and up to the coop. So part of the problem here, and that's why I have this cable, is when I put this transfer switch in, it's going to only do everything that's in this little miniature shipping container here. So this here is the machine shed. This is where all the goodies are for industrial, or I should say infrastructure stuff. I've got 2 APC 3K UPSs. Those are doing backup power for the network, which is all the security cameras, internet, home assistant, servers, VMware, you name it, it's there. So I got 2 of them, A and a B. So that way, anything that's got dual power supplies, switches and servers, you got 2 backup, or each side is protected. Dual power supplies on all the switches, for the most part, on everywhere here. I got 2 breakers in here. Two 30 amp breakers. I got quite a bit of battery here, but these batteries are starting to get long in the teeth, and they're going to need replacing. So I have a strategy for that. We're going to test that strategy up in the chicken coop first. Basically, Runnings has these marine deep cell batteries for like 140 bucks a piece. They're 12 volt deep cells. And a couple paychecks, I'm probably going to go up there and get 4 of them and some jumper cable type things, you know, battery terminal cables to, you know, jump the cells to make 48 volts out of 4 12 volt batteries. And they have like a toolbox. They have like a generic metal toolbox up there for like 100 bucks that should fit all 4 batteries in it. So I think that's going to be the setup that I'm going to go with, because the batteries up in the chicken coop are shot. When we had those itsy bitsy power outages, they didn't last at all, and everything down there up there went down. So it's kind of annoying, kind of sucked. These 2 conduits here, one of them's mostly data coming out of this switch, and that's going up toward the chicken coops. Other one is power for various things, and that power is actually controlled out of this cabinet. I don't know if I got the key to get in there. Hang on. Have a look at that generator while I'm farting around with us. Yes. Okay. So I've got a couple sawn-off devices in there, a couple relays. Originally started out with these ice cube relays. Which one toasted? One of these freaking roached. I don't know where it is. Oh, those are really good. Is it this one? Come on now, get out of there. Yeah, I think it's that one. You can see how it's discolored and everything in there. These are rated for 10 amps. Yeah, I know. You send in a 15 amp circuit at it. But, you know, all day long it never got more than 6 on Home Assistant, as far as I could tell. So I thought it was good to go. Lo and behold, it toasted. So I put in the... Actually, I had these sawn-offs in line, but not using them to actually control the power. I was controlling the power through this one. But these actually meter. These tell you what your load actually is. That's how I knew that these are, you know, around 6 amps. I think... What are these rated at? I think these are rated at 16 amps. I think. And that's why I bought that, was to put that in there eventually. I don't know. At any rate, some of these things we control from Home Assistant, outdoor lighting. The baby chicken coop right now is through one of these so that we can see what our power consumption is, to verify that like the water heaters and stuff like that are working. So that's what that mess is there. So just, you know, ignore that chaos right now. This summer I'm going to clean that up. A lot of things are in flux right now. So hang on, let me button this back up. And I'm going to make sure I don't snap that key. It's kind of important. So here's the diesel. This is a 30 kilowatt 3-cylinder John Deere with a... Oh, who made that? It's a made in China alternator, but it was like Powerhouse diesel generators, I think. Because this thing originally had a Stanford on it, and it blew up. The alternator blew up. The guy I bought it from, the property that it was on, I think somebody tried to break into it and scrap it for the copper. They broke into the excitation winding and just, you know, like damaged it. So there was no excitation current going into the alternator, and it wouldn't make juice. So I scrapped that sumbitch and bought that thing online and just bolted it on. You know, got the right bolt pattern for the bell housing and flywheel and the flex plate and everything in there. And it just whoosh, bolted right on and went. So all these gauges and everything I migrated from the Stanford cabinet that was sitting on top of that alternator. That particular unit had another cabinet on top of the, you know, like that flat part on the alternator there. So while we're here, let's look at this Sorry, my feet are banging around. So while we're here, let's look at this space right here. This open space above the motor. This is where the 10K propane generator is going to go. So I'm going to suspend it from the ceiling. I'm going to have to weld in some more strut up there. Pay no attention to these, that's temporary. I got that little thing right there that I'm going to bolt into there and make that all nicey nice. But those are splice connectors, and I just electrical tape the hell out of them. There's the actual like insulation rated electrical tape underneath just normal generic electrical tape. So I mean that's good to go. Don't worry about that. I've ran this thing since that's all been put together, and it's happy as a clam. So up here I'm going to be welding some strut onto the ceiling, and I'm going to have to turn that muffler to go that way, straight out that wall instead of there where it currently is, in order to make room for the 10K propane gen set that's going to sit here. And I'm probably going to cut some sort of hole in the wall over there for cooling air, because it's one of those units that's got, it's the fan is kind of built into the flywheel, so it moves its own air. So I'm just going to duct it straight out. I may actually put a powered fan in there, similar to that thing. That thing looks like hell because we have cotton trees, or cottonwood trees around here, and you know how they shed their little seeds and it's like snow in the middle of summer. That's what all that crap is. So it'll get cleaned eventually. And then these louvers, I'm eventually going to put some screening in front of them, similar to that stuff, real fine screening to catch those stupid ass seeds. You can see those are full of seeds right there. Pain in the butt. The generator is going to hang from the ceiling here. And I'll probably build a shelf or something over here for the batteries. I'll get that battery for this guy up off the floor. I'll do something real nice, and then I'll probably run an outlet over here for the float chargers. Up in here, just gotta get my footing correct. So up in here, the power, that cable that was on the outside there in that new cabinet comes through here. There it is right there. Going through that conduit there into that junction box, and then from there it goes up through conduit up to the hill to the chicken coop. Passes through this box here, and then there's a 2-inch conduit that goes down and around over there. I have big, thick, heavy cable that will fit through there, so that's going to also go in that 2-inch conduit. And that's one of them, multi-conductor cables where it's got 4 copper lines for your 2 hots, your neutral, and your ground. And then it's got 7 smaller, I think they're 18 gauge. Copper lines for the telemetry from the transfer switch to the engine on the generator. They actually turn on the fuel, engage the starter, that nonsense. So that's going to come down here, and I'm probably just going to, bring it down, and then I have some gland connectors that are going to go in here, and then have a service loop for flex, to flex, and then mount that on the side of the alternator housing on the propane generator unit. So I know I'm explaining a lot here that's not seeable, but just use your imagination. So that's what I did today, is I did all this conduit work here. This box was pre-existing, put that in there. I was able to unbolt most of all this stuff here. The 100 amp comes up out of here, goes through this, circuit breaker box into this just junction box there, and then in, down, and then under into the 200 amp transfer switch on the side of the barn. It's a 200 amp rated switch because my service entrance is 200 amps. So your transfer switch on your service line has to be rated for what the service is. So yes, this is a 125 amp breaker. This is putting out, I don't remember. It's not quite putting out, I think it's putting out about 100 amps, I think, total. This is 30 kilowatts, so I think it's somewhere around there. I don't know. But this trips to protect, or was it 150? I don't know. this will trip and protect the alternator before you exceed the rating of the alternator. I know that for a fact because when I did all the math, 125 was good to go. Trust me. So going back to there, so the challenge, there were some challenges around how I was going to set this whole thing up. Because remember, I had that transfer switch that was not in an outdoor enclosure, and my original thought process was to move the UV sterilizer for the water, move this out of the way, and then mount the transfer switch right here. And then do some conduit between here and there. Problem being, the wire, the service wire for this sub panel comes up out of the ground through the PVC conduit and all that, comes through here, and then it lands right here. So it's cut to length right here, you know. And if I had wanted to bring this up and over and land it in the transfer switch, the original style, it wouldn't have been long enough. So I said, darn, that sucks. So then I got to thinking, well, I can just put it under box here and just join it, you know, kind of similar to what I did there, but better. You know, I've you know, there's other styles of connectors out there that you can use that aren't craptastic like those. I mean, that's temporary, so just chill, okay? But, you know, then I have to tear apart this water system. This is non-potable water. This is groundwater from a dug well. The well goes down as far as I could reach with the excavator. I started, you know, dulling the tiger teeth on the bucket and on the shale, and I was like, you know what, that's deep enough. So I you know, sank that thing down there as far as it would go. Cleaned out the hole real good, and then I put a 24-inch culvert pipe vertically in the ground. That's buried in there somewhere. And it holds probably about 400 gallons of water. And basically, this was just used for gardening. So I had 3 stages of filtering, 2 particulate, and then a carbon filter, and then a UV sterilizer. Kind of overkill, but, you know, I just didn't want somebody to get, like, splashed in the face with the water that was coming out of that hose and end up with, like, some brain-eating amoeba or something. So, the pump for that is down there. Oh, some conduit wreckage. But there's a 220 volt pump that goes down into the ground there, and then, you know, we got our feed and supply because the supply went out that way, goes out that way, and then goes up in the conduit toward the chicken coops where the garden is. And then one of them actually went into the barn for like hose water. We since have public water from Mohawk Valley Water Authority, and all potable water. The water we use to wash the eggs and all that stuff is, you know, it's real water, clean water. So, you know, city water for the non-country folks, I guess, who might be watching or may or may not, whatever, you know what I mean. So yeah, there's some little holes here and there that I got to patch up, but that'll be this summer's welding project. I finally got an outlet in there to attach the MIG welder to. So I'll be welding up all these holes. You can see there's a little bit of water in here. Not crazy. That needs to be patched up. I have to, you know, cut some tin and put it in there. You know, some sheet metal, put it in there, weld it real good and tight, and then, you know, seal up everything with silicone, all the holes and whatnot. This generator's been rock solid. You know, I put that alternator on there and, you know, did everything you see in here I did. This was just literally an empty container. So all this stuff, that's kind of just been my little hobby ever since. The air compressor is in here because I got tired of listening to that thing out in the barn when I was working on stuff. You know, you'd be working away and all of a sudden, and I was like, that is ridiculous. So that made its way out here. So this is 3/4 inch. I forget the brand name, but like, you know, it's the aluminum PEX kit that everybody carries. You know, with the crimp, they're non-crimp connect. Well, it's sort of a crimp in there. You cut it. It's very like PEXy, like PEX plumbing pipe, but it's rigid. It's because it's got aluminum in there for pressure. You know, that comes up out of there. I drilled some holes here. Put these rubber mounts you know, to keep it from going bonkers. Then it just kind of goes up, and then it gets strapped in. Has a T-fitting here, and it goes into another 90-degree fitting. That was real fun to get everything in there. A little bit of moisture, but not crazy. And then that goes down underground into the barn, and then there's some spots in the barn where it goes out to different tools and whatnot. But yeah, I just got tired of listening to this stupid ass thing. Needs a new belt. Somewhere is in here. The belt is about to yeet itself. That's got a 30 amp breaker. I got to upgrade that to 40 because this time of year in the cold, it trips. So when it's cold out, the motor draws more amperage, and this thing is prone to trip in the winter. But the reason it's 30 is because I've got 10 gauge wire going to it, and that's all I had at that point in time. So I threw a 30 amp breaker on there to be correct. But really it needs a 40. So I got to eventually get a hold of some 8 gauge, swap out this breaker, and then we should be good to go. But that brings us to another segue. This compressor, I think that's a 7-horse motor. And, I mean, that thing is the business. When it kicks on, the lights in the barn flicker. Believe it or not, it doesn't do anything to these UPSs when it kicks on. So, but, like, the lights will flicker. I mean, I got LED lights everywhere, so maybe that's part of the reason. I don't know. But, at any rate, it's drawing a lot of freaking amperage. And this little 10K propane generator that's going to be basically doing this sub-panel here, I don't want that compressor running or kicking on when the little generator is going, because it's probably going to knock it right the frig out, or blow a breaker or something, and then you know, then you got no backup power. So my plan for that is this, I believe, is the thermal overload magnetic contactor / breaker. That's why it's got that reset button on there. Oh, it didn't come out. Huh. Well, hopefully that resets. Don't know what to tell you there. So my plan here, what I'm going to do is somewhere's up in here, I'm going to add another box. And in there, I'm going to put a magnetic contactor. Or maybe like an 80 amp relay. That's a normally closed relay. In fact, I already bought the relays. They say they're good for 80 amps. I don't know. We'll see if we can trust them. But the idea here is that that 80 amp relay is going to be in there. And they've got a 120 volt coil. And what I'm going to do is, coming off of the backup generator, I'm going to put a time delay relay, a small one, you know, that's only rated for like 5 or 10 amps or whatever, to energize this 80 amp relay that's going to be in there to disconnect the power going to the air compressor. So basically what's going to happen is the backup generator is going to turn on, start running, produce power. And then that time delay relay is going to wait for whatever amount of time I set it to. But if the air compressor trips on in the meantime, there could still be problems. So basically, what I wonder, can I just put straight 120 to this thing? To the relay that's going to be in there? Probably. I'm going to try that. That's something for us to investigate. So at any rate, whatever it ends up being ultimately, when the emergency generator comes on, it's going to send 120 by default, like right from the alternator, not, you know, anything to do with the transfer switch or anything, right to here, to this future disconnect relay, which is then going to isolate the air compressor from the shed. So it'll just be off by default. It'd be the same as if I went in there and like threw the breaker. To protect the small generator from getting shocked, or, you know, from this stupid thing running, and then the UPSs aren't happy with the power that they're getting, and you know, and it just creates problems. So that's something else that's going to happen here. And that'll happen before we commission the thing, permanently. Trying to think. Got an access point right there, because some of those those sawn-offs on that other relay board in there are Wi-Fi. So there's an AP right in here to make sure that they get Wi-Fi to communicate. I think I've rambled enough in here. Let's go back out and look at the transfer switch. And then eventually we got to go up to the chicken coop and look at that, because there's another transfer switch up there. Got my dump truck running, because either the clearance lights on the cab or the windshield seal is leaking, and water got down inside the fuse box under the dash. It's a design flaw with the Super Duties, the early ones. So it's gonna need some tinkering. I just noticed something else that needs some tinkering is all these beams on my little enclosure here are like shifted. That's supposed to be straight up and down, and it's kind of like yeeted that way. I'll fix that with the excavator. Yeah, trust me. All right, so back to here. So this is going up to the chicken coop, because the generator is going to turn on, start giving power to that sub panel in there. I didn't have enough room in the sub panel. You saw earlier that all the spots were occupied. I didn't have enough room in there to accommodate this. Because this is like... this is going to need its own breaker. I just realized. Okay. Yeah, I got to put a breaker on this. So basically what I need to do here... I need to put this on the side because it's starting to get snowed on. Transfer the guts. So take out the computer board, take out the actual transfer switch, probably the neutrals. We'll take the neutral out, and the grounding, all that good stuff. We'll get rid of all this extra cable that we don't need. Take that out, and then mount that to this back plane in here. I'm probably going to have to fab a bracket in that corner to mount this, because the way that mounts currently, you see these two little studs, it mounts that way to the side of the case. And I don't want to make any penetrations here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a sheet metal bracket that comes up, and then we can bolt that on, similarly how it is. And then we're going to pull out the feed from that sub panel. It's going to come up in here, because remember, the sub panel is about right here. And the way I feed it, I come up and down on the top with the feeds. Or no, actually I didn't. Just the neutral I did, but the hots go into about there. So when I pull that all out, pull it out of this conduit, and then bring it up through here, I'm going to have enough length to put that transfer switch mechanism in here and land everything properly. And then I'm just going to bring back, I'm going to come out of the top of out of there, where it says, these guys, I believe, are my load. Yeah, this is alternate. Yeah, so this is the alternate. That's where the generator, the source from the generator comes. And then this is the load. So the load side, I'm going to bring up and over, and I've got on the way an Allen Bradley distribution block. It's a lug style distribution thing, so that I can bring this and connect it onto that distribution. I can bring the top side of the transfer switch onto it and connect that in, and then I can do a pigtail, connect that, and then go back down through this conduit, back up into the sub panel on the other side, and then everything's connected. But that, darn it, I just realized, I need a breaker. So basically what I'm going to do is still have that distribution block up here, and in this space over here, I'll just bring this down and then have a breaker. I'll have like probably a 50 amp breaker of some type. So I need to find me a setup. I'll have to look at what Square D has, because they have some of those small like itty bitty breaker boxes that are for like air conditioners and stuff like that, where you can fit one single dual pole breaker for like a 220 volt thing. Maybe I'll get one of those and kind of bastardize it and just screw it right to that and just make all the connections. The other thing, this is a 24 by 24 by 12 enclosure. The other thing I was going to be doing is putting some low voltage stuff in here for Home Assistant. so that I can connect in Home Assistant to some of these things and try to maybe get some information of like what the position of the transfer switch is in, so that I can have a dashboard of Home Assistant to look at and say, yeah, the transfer switch is in the normal position, or it's in the emergency position, or it's messed up, stuff like that. Yeah, I got to get this thing inside. Let's just throw the cover back on there, because we're going to run up to the chicken coop real quick so I can show you what I got going up there. This other transfer switch in there. Real quick, this thing here, this is my new toy. This is the Pittsburgh hydraulic punch driver kit. Pittsburgh, also known as Harbor Freight. So it's got this hydraulic jimmer jammer here. Come on, hurry up. Hurry up. So basically, the way this works is you close that valve and then you start pumping it. You see how that moves? It's got a hydraulic ram in there. And these are teeth. So these, angled surfaces here are teeth. And this is what it produces. Basically, you drill a pilot hole that fits that bolt thing through there. And then you screw, you push, you got your, I guess we'll call this the anvil, and then the cutter. You put that through, and then screw this up to the side of your case, snug it up, and then you start pumping on it, and it will pop out the steel. It shears it. So it makes all these little knockouts. And you'll see where I did all my knockouts, I used this new confangled device. And up there too, excuse me. And then all of the 2-inch and the 1 1/4 inch holes in that junction box above the generator. The other one had a knockout by chance for the 1 1/4. Let's see, let's get this open. So yeah, this guy here, you see those larger knockouts? That's 1 1/4. So it fit that perfect. So put that back in there. Yeah. Gotta make sure that the kibbles and bits don't fall out. Good enough. Got a little float charger on the generator there, just to keep that battery happy. Pressure tank for the water system. I don't know, anything else we gotta look at in here? If I ever do solar, that's why I have this big wooden platform or deck on top of here, because I was anticipating possibly doing solar. We'll see about that, because I also have seen some pictures and video of solar panels self-combusting, which ain't exactly cool, on top of a wood deck. So we'll see. But if I ever did solar, that's what that wall space there is going to be allocated for, all the inverters and whatnot. And when it's time to change out these batteries, the solar is going to be incorporated into this somehow, either directly charging 48 volts into the batteries for this thing. I have some spare UPSs that I'm going to test with to see if the UPS itself gets angry, if it sees voltage coming into the battery other than what its own charge circuit is putting out. So I've done some Googling on it, and I can't find one way or the other whether my idea, my hypothesis is a thing or not. But I'm going to test to see if, like, you hook up, you got a UPS running with its own battery pack being charged by its own internal charger. I want to see what happens if you send 48 volts or 54 volts or whatever at it from a third source, third-party source, and see if it gets angry or if it balances out or equalizes or what. That's coming. The other idea is, if I get solar, I kind of have to get solar because, no lie, my power bill is like $700 a month with National Grid. So I need to somehow offset that. The other idea is Redo the outlets for this and incorporate some 30 amp transfer switches. So they make RV transfer switches for like if you have a camper and you're switching between shore power and generator, like if you have a built-in generator in the RV, they have these small dinky donkey little transfer switches that they kind of automatically source seek. So my plan is to get solar, and then when the solar trend is correct and the sun is shining, have Home Assistant fire up a relay and send power to the transfer switch, and then the power or the transfer switch will just automatically grab onto the solar and power the network from the solar when the sun is shining. That's the idea. Well, I mean, I've got lots of ideas floating around. The trick is to just float around with them and grab them at the right time. So that's that wall space there. I've also got a vacuum pump that I acquired that I might hang from the ceiling in that area. We'll see. I'm going to try and just fill this thing up with as much stuff so that when you open the door, it's just like, wow. I don't know. That's my thing. Shut that. By the way, this is 3 feet, from here to there. So that's legal. I'm going to leave the light on for now. Everything's pretty much legal for the most part. Yeah, so good thing we talked through this. I'm glad you're here to see that light bulb moment. I need a breaker for that. I also need to not leave this drill out or that. I gotta come back for that. Alright, so now we're gonna head up to the chicken coop. It's snowing, it was nice and warm out. That's why the truck is running, because it was warm enough that the water that was frozen inside the fuse box under the hood melted, and I was able to get in there. Oh yeah, we got new tires for the truck. The old ones were kind of crappy. So that was good. It'd be amazing to see how a good set of tires makes the truck quiet. Alright, so oh yeah. So here's our fuse box under the hood here, and the issue is these clearance lights, they're pretty freaking old. So I don't know if it's the gasket around that or the gasket for each of these 5. But you see the headliner's starting to come down a little bit here, and there's some discoloration. So it's probably those damn clearance lights. They leak. And it follows this. Oh look, you see right there where the water was coming down. They leak, comes down here, and for whatever stupid reason, Ford, in their infinite wisdom, put the fuse box right under there, and it happens to just drip on the wiring harness that goes into this, and it gets in there, and it gets wet, and then this is like critical shit in here. So when it gets wet, the truck gets possessed, like no joke. Like the blower starts coming on, the lights start coming on at random. It tries to start itself, which I think that's the worst thing. Because let's say it was running right now, and this is why I have to keep an eye on it. If it was running right now and then the starting circuit shorted in there and it tried to start itself again, well, you're gonna ram the Bendix and the everything right into the flywheel, and that's not cool. So I mean, things could literally get ruined. So I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but I drilled holes in the bottom of the thing, in the bottom of the fuse box, to try and help get rid of the water. So really, without replacing all of the clearance lights, or what I'm going to try and do is just silicone them shut, take them apart, put silicone on both sides of them, and sandwich them back together and see if that works. But you got to pull a damn headliner to do that. It's a pain in the neck. I actually started it in this truck. As you can see, there's no headliner in there. There's all the clearance lights plus the new eBay ones that aren't even close. They said, OEM. No. So I put flex steel tape on there to try and. What a mess. That truck had the same problem, and what I ended up doing was I found a new fuse box like from, I don't know, someplace down in Florida where, you know, they don't have road salt and all that crap. So I swapped out the fuse box in there, and that truck became usable again. Didn't fully solve the issue because, you know, the fix that I got with the flex tape is temporary as far as I'm concerned. But I mean, the truck's drivable. I got all this ice. I got my little spikies on. That's how I'm able to just walk up straight up clear ice. Alright, we're almost there. Here's the new baby chicks. So we got 50 babies all jammed in this little coop. They're starting to lay eggs. You see some eggs in there. These guys are they're called the longshoremen, because when the longshoremen went on strike, I was like, this is it, world's coming to an end. So I went to Hoover's Hatchery and bought 50 chickens. Here's the other girls. This is the main coop. I let them out today while I was working. It was sunny earlier, trust me. Give them some outside time. It's just full of snow, and I don't want to say it's a design flaw, but we didn't fully think this out, I guess. This tunnel here was just a quick and dirty connection that we made to get the birds access back to the run. But as you can see, it fills up with snow, and then once that happens, forget about it. The sprout, to her credit, actually got in there one day and dug that all out. Then we got like 10 years worth of lake effect in 5 days. Yeah, so if I win the lottery, we're gonna put up one of those carports, you know, one of those steel garages, and do that up properly and get rid of that stupid wire mesh tunnel. All right, so I said that we had to look at the transfer switch up here, so that's what we're here to do. So this is the garage side of the chicken coop. You know, over there was the kitchen where we wash all the eggs and everything. This is the UPS that's got crappy ass batteries. So this is a 50 amp 240 volt RV transfer switch, and I got that on eBay for like 80 bucks. And basically it's the same idea. This is the quote unquote, oh, my hands are like not functioning from the cold. That's the generator side, and this is the, we'll call it shore power side, because this is an RV transfer switch. I went with this because it was cheap, and supposedly it'll do what it's got to do. I mean, what more do you need, really? So I gotta cut this and then land it on there, ground and bond everything. This is that same cable you saw down below that is going to attach in the little cabinet there for the automatic propane generator. Because this sub panel is, like I was saying earlier, is fed directly from the pole barn. Because I didn't have any capacity inside that machine shed in the panel that was in there, so I said screw it and just ran a whole nother conduit up here. You know, that's on the outside. We'll look at that real quick. That's got a 60 amp breaker in it. This is rated for 50 amps. So the newly discovered, oh man, my fingies, the newly discovered breaker that we just realized we gotta put in the system, I'm gonna try and make that 50 amp so that it's same rating as this guy. But I mean, this is made in China, so I don't know if we can trust it. Maybe we should use a 40 amp breaker. That being said, what do we got going on here? This 30 is for the UPS. This 30 is for the electric water heater that's underneath. That's what this big thick cable is here. This is 10 gauge wire inside that cable. And then this 15 amp is the water heater, or not water heater. It's a heater, like an air heater. It makes the air hot. Yeah. That's underneath the thing in there. I'll show you that in a minute. So I want to say that when we're gonna look at Home Assistant here and do a little experimentation, because now I just had another aha moment. Oh, where the hell are we? Shed sub watts. So this is that's right. I gotta make this easier for you to see, I think. Or is that stupid light in the corner now being a problem? It's an easy enough fix. Ha! Whoa, got real dark all of a sudden. So I hope you can still see this. I don't have a way to look at a screen. I got my Mevo, I'm holding my Mevo camera here. So this graph, this is this data comes from the iota watt that's down in the main panel in the barn. So get back here. So you can see as far as usage goes, and that's kind of like what I was looking for there. That spike to where it almost goes up to 8 kilowatts. All right, so let's just get right down to our experiment here. We've got under here this Vivor water heater. Okay, and then there is that, 240 volt heats the air heater. Turn on. There we go. So now both these guys are running. Is that really 136? Ooh, yeah. Oh, that's nice. Ooh. Hot, hot, hot. Too hot. What are we down to? Hurry up so I can put my hand in there. I know you love watching this, but we actually have to wait a little bit of time for the iota watt to catch up, because the interval that Home Assistant queries that thing is not like, oh, now it's really starting to drop. So basically what's going on here, we used up all the water that's inside the heated hose. That's why it was coming out at 130. So now our delta is dropping, because the water is coming out of the ground at like 45, 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And this 8 kilowatt heater can only do so much. It works good for what we need right here. It's like, I got hot water. That's all I care about. So when we come in, we got to wash our hands, or when we're washing the eggs, because when they're all cooped up, you get coopy eggs. They got stuff on them, so we wash them. Whether you're supposed to wash eggs or not, we wash them. And then they get refrigerated, packaged up, and all that. Alright. Alright, I hope you can see this. Yeah, I don't know. There's some kind of wonkiness going on with the time in Home Assistant. It always says 6 minutes ago when it's, right now. But whatever. So, we're pulling 10K when we run the water heater and the air heater, the room heater. And this frickin' thing ain't even plugged in. Alright, so that's off. So, now we got a conundrum. Because we've got the potential to max out the output of that generator between the water heater and the heater. and this is coming off. The whole point was to get the chicken coop and all, you know, this infrastructure on backup power. So what do we do? I think, well, I mean, we've got this idea down there to isolate the air compressor while the backup generator is running. So I think we're going to have to do the same thing here. And the air heater in this instance is more critical than the water heater, because the air heater is actually what's keeping the room hot, keeping these exposed PEX pipes from freezing, etc. So we have to be able to pull the 2K or the 1800K to run that stupid little heater in order to keep this room toasty, nice and toasty. The hot water at that point then becomes a convenience. So I think what we're going to do is we'll have to put another isolation relay in the mix, and we're going to have to isolate the water heater from the system when the generator is running. And, you know, we'll just have to probably set up a simple automation at Home Assistant, kind of the same idea as the air compressor relay, because I'm not going to run a cable, you know, a line or you know, some kind of wire all the way up through here to activate a relay. That's just silly. So I think what we're going to have to do is somehow get Home Assistant involved, so that when we determine that the generator itself is running, it's going to trip a relay here to interrupt the power going to that water heater. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Going through my head, kind of wargaming certain scenarios. Let's say that the Home Assistant server is off, but yet the generator's running, still making power. You know, something crazy happened, then there's still the possibility that that stupid thing could come on. So, I don't know. Maybe I do have to run a line up here, but then, See, I'm going through the options here. It's like I'm not going to run single strands of something. I'd probably get like a 200-foot extension cable, you know, like a 16 gauge extension cable, 200 feet, and then just run that back through the conduit all the way to here. If I had to power a relay directly from the alternator on the generator, like we're going to do with the air compressor, because that's the safest way to isolate, is as soon as the alternator starts making electricity, those two relays energize and isolate the appliances from the backup power, and you know, it keeps the thing from overloading and popping breakers or smoking. That would suck. All right, so I've rambled quite a bit here. We've covered a lot of ground, but basically that's kind of the update of where we are right now. As far as project-wise, I mean, this has kind of been my focus lately. Been going here and there for work quite a bit. So, you know, I've got a few days where I can actually focus on stuff after all the other projects are completed. I was putting the new wheels and tires on the truck last night at like 9 o'clock at night, so that was cool. But yeah, so tomorrow I've got some more time, and then Saturday I got more time. So we'll probably do some more filming. We're going to transfer the guts of that transfer switch for sure into the cabinet and get that installed. And I might actually... No, I'm going to have to wait till I get that distribution block, that Allen Bradley power distribution block, before I can actually connect the sub panel into the transfer switch the way it's going to be, you know, long term. But once I get the transfer switch guts migrated and then get everything connected sub panel wise and all these feeds and whatnot, then it's going to be time to actually drag out this generator and hook it all up and see if it actually runs. Because I bought it from the dude off of Facebook, you know, paid $400 for a 10K with a transfer switch. He assured me it works, and I got no reason to doubt the dude. So we're going to have to get us, I mean, I got propane bottles. We're probably going to need a regulator. And I got 12-volt batteries. I think, I don't know if it has battery cables on it or not. I think it does. So we're going to have to hook the thing all together, you know, and you know, wire everything up between the generator, the gen set itself, and the transfer switch, so that all that telemetry is connected, and then see what it does. You know, see if we can get it to turn on and run. And you know, I mean, it's an older used unit, so hopefully, you know, like there's no like leakage, you know, like any seals on the fuel system, or you know, hopefully all that stuff's good. You know, fire it up, see what it does. And you know, I think my strategy is to just leave the generator out in that open part of the shed there, you know, where the little wooden roof was over it there outside the steel machine shed. Just leave it there for a little bit, and you know, cycle it a few times, you know, go through some simulated outages and see, you know, what it does, how it performs and everything. And if it seems like it's pretty, you know, rock solid, I just realized the light, I don't know, hopefully like I'm not glaring too much. So if it seems like it's rock solid, then we will do the whole making the mounting system to you know, hang that thing from the ceiling inside the machine shop, or machine shed, until we know that the thing is going to run perfect and it's not going to require like any nonsense to, you know, like redo connections, or you know, rerun, you know, replace all of the wiring because the wiring's brittle or something, you know, inside the little box that's on top of the alternator. Until we're guaranteed that the thing is good to go, I'm not gonna, you know, move it inside the shed and then hang it up there on the strut and you know, lock it in long term. So be more content to come on that. And then probably once that's all done, then I'll be replacing the batteries for this UPS in here. So that'll be another thing we'll do a video on. Nothing too crazy, but it's just a non-conventional way to replace your UPS batteries without spending big money on the actual correct OEM batteries. So more to come. So thanks for hanging out and watching and seeing all I got going on here. And then hopefully the next video, you know, I'll get the tripod set up to actually watch some of this stuff as it's happening. Because basically I just work. You know, when the mood catches me right, I just go to work. And if I don't have like a combat photographer following me, I do things, and then I show it after the fact. But whatever. We'll figure things out as we go. All right. Have a good one. Take care.